welcome back to Crochet for Drag Queens. I learned a lot from my last video. I learned that it was incredibly quiet, so I'm doing my best to try and speak loudly and more clear right now. This is a lot louder than I speak on a day-to-day basis, like in person, so this is a little weird and it feels a little forward of me, but you gotta be loud and you gotta talk clear, otherwise you just can't hear it all. So I'm doing my best. But I wanted to update everybody on the crochet dolls that I was working on that I showed in the last video. I actually managed to finish them. I worked day and night and stayed up entirely too late in the morning, like 5 o'clock in the morning every single night, even if I'd have to be at work at like 11 a.m., 9 a.m. It was really tough. There was a lot of times where I was almost late to work working on these things, which is ridiculous because no one should do that, because I finished them on the 9th and the show isn't until the 11th, so I could have stretched it out a little bit, but I guess I was just really excited and I was really gung-ho about working on these because they were turning out really well once I started stitching them together. So I just wanted to hurry up and finish putting them together, and I don't know, they came out okay. When I stitched them together, their bases looked really good, but when I started doing their eyes, that's when it got a little shaky on their construction and how I felt about them. Because if you followed the links in the description from the last video, and I'll link that all again, that way everyone can have the patterns for all of these. The original artist needle felted all of the eyes onto her Pokemon, which looked really good, but I've never needle felted before, and needle felting is also a really expensive hobby to get into, so for me to buy that and do it for the first time on these bases wasn't really something I felt comfortable with doing. I ended up cutting all of their eyes out of felt sheets, the pre-made felt sheets, and I stitched them all together. And I think they turned out kind of okay. The only ones that I really am not too pleased with are the Charmander and the Bulbasaur, and you guys will see that in a second. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump in and start showing you the completed dolls, and you can tell me what you think about them. I don't know, they're kind of mediocre. They definitely didn't turn out as good as I would have liked, but I guess you can be the judge of that. So the first one I'll show you is the Squirtle. And I feel like I need to add nostrils to his face because his face just looks a little blank. And he's still kind of lumpy. He needs to be fluffed to kind of bring his shape back together. But I think he turned it okay. His eyes are pretty cute. This was also like a crash course in making eyeballs. I would draw a stencil on a piece of paper, cut it out, trace it onto the felt, and then put it back onto here. And I had to do it a couple of times to try and get the shape right. But he's all stitched together. He's got his little white liner. I originally wanted to stitch this on in yarn, but it just wasn't working out. So I did it in t-shirt puffy paint, which I think turned out pretty good. It also has it on the bottom. He's got the puffy paint. I also wish that these holes weren't so big, because you can see through to the stuffing, but it's kind of a little late for that now. But I think he came out, he's pretty cute. Still not too pleased with his face. I'm not pleased with any of their faces, actually. But that's the Squirtle. And then the next one is the Pikachu. And again, these are all supposed to be baby Pokemon. They're laying flat on their stomachs, like they don't have all their strength and muscle built back up in their legs yet. But this is the Pikachu. I kind of wish that I kind of want to go back in and cover up the yellow sandwich between the tail pieces. And I also don't like that you can see like the glue that's soaked through on the bottom here. But it is on the bottom, so I'm kind of not too horribly upset about it. So I might let it go, because it just kind of shows off that it really is handmade. I don't know, it doesn't fit on there very good. I still think it's pretty cute. But he's got his little stripes on his back, and his ears are kind of flopped over. I think it's fitting. It's also really freaking hot in my room right now, so if you see me like wiping my face, it's because I'm like sweating my ass off. But here's his face. I think his probably came out the best out of any of them, because he's pretty cute. I don't know if I should have made his cheeks bigger or not. That was a big debate that I had, is if I should make his cheeks bigger. But I ended up leaving them the way they were, and I guess it's kind of cute. The Charmander, he's the one, I actually did his eyes first, and I made his eyes twice. I made one stencil, cut it out of felt, stitched it all together, put it on, didn't like it. Then I made a couple of other stencils until I got something that I thought would look pretty good. So with him, he looks cute from the side, his eyes. But then when you turn him to the front, he just looks like a derp. And I really don't like it. So he's cute from, he's got his good side. He's got two good sides and just not from the front. I also had to run out to Walmart to buy an animal hairbrush, one of these guys, because you brush out the yarn and you could make like the fiery tail this bit. So what I did is I just took yarn and wrapped it around my fingers like you would if you were to make a pom-pom, and you cut it. And then I took it and I stitched individual pieces through, gosh, you've got junk in your tail. And I stitched it through like the holes where like the stitches are. And I started at the bottom with red, moved up with orange, and then put yellow in the very top, and I brushed it out. And there's definitely a better way that you could do that. I kept pulling the yarn strands out instead of pulling them apart to make them fluffy, but I think it turned out okay. And then after that, I trimmed it down, I cut it to try and, you know, groom it a little bit. I think it turned out okay. And then I also used puffy paint to put on his toenails. I thought about doing that in felt, but it just seemed like extra work that wasn't entirely necessary, especially since I had the puffy paint on hand. So I just went ahead and did that. And then his eyes, I actually, like, I kept the overall shape, like the outside shape, the way that the artist had uploaded the picture, but I ended up making the pupil a little bit different. She had shaded the blue with black to get this effect here. But I cut it out that way to give kind of like a shade to the pupil, and it didn't make it look so creepy, because with just the rounded black pupil, he looked like he was going to like devour your soul. So I think he turned out okay from the side, just not from the front. So he's pretty cute. He's got his little side on the bottom. Pretty cute. And then lastly, the Bulbasaur. He is the one that I am the most disappointed when it comes to his face, for a lot of reasons. His eyes, I'll just start by showing you the face. I don't like his eyes at all. The artist had just done like a base of white, but then she went back in and very lightly outlined it in black. But I drew the eye shape, and then I traced around the eye shape with black felt to give it kind of like a background. So there's two pieces of felt there, the white and black. I don't know, it actually surprisingly looks better on camera than it does in person. I don't like it. But then I also went in and I used puffy paint to try and do his nostrils. I originally tried to do it with yarn and it just wasn't working out. And I got a little ambitious, and I tried to start sewing on his spots, and I smudged his nose, so I had to go in and like completely change around the way his nose is, and you can kind of see where I smudged it on his face, and there's just nothing I can do about it. He's permanently stained. I was really bummed. But he definitely took the longest. He had the most decoration that needed to be done. His bulb took a long time to construct. And it actually turned out, being understuffed, did exactly like I thought it would. It would give me some good definition on the puff. And you can't tell that it's deformed anymore. But he also has all these spots everywhere that I had to stitch on. Like I put a little dot of glue on there. I used the Aliens clear tacky glue, and I put a little dot on there to hold it in place. And then I went around and I stitched it on. So he had a lot of decoration. He took a lot. Like a long time to construct. There they are all together. Tiny Pokemon. Pokemon butts. So as far as that bag goes, I still have the material that is still in the bag that I had bought it in, like the Joann's bag. It's still sitting in there. I still need to take it out and sew the liner in that bag, but that's probably going to wait until tomorrow, because it's 10:30 p.m. at night and I have to work at 11 in the morning. And I have been staying, like yesterday I stayed up until 6 o'clock in the morning watching movies with my friend. So I need to try and get my sleep schedule back on track. Don't be ridiculous like I am. Don't stay up super duper late, absolutely killing yourself trying to work on these presents for drag queens, no matter how much you love them. Try and extend, try and space out the time that you have. Start planning earlier, and don't be super ambitious like I am. I originally just wanted to make like a hat for her and maybe one doll is what I was planning on. I was originally just going to do the Pikachu, but then I found the patterns for all of the other ones, and I was like, well, why don't I just make all 4 on top of 2 hats in a bag? That's totally doable. And even though I did do it, I definitely paid for it. I was late to work one morning, and you don't want to be late to work staying up crocheting things for drag queens. Like, just don't do that. Don't do that. You can get in a lot of trouble. You need to keep your jobs. Also, I don't know if I'm going to keep the video, the first one that I had done, up on the channel. I kind of want to leave it up as like a learning experience. I'm really, really big on that. You only learn by doing. If you don't do something that makes you uncomfortable, you're never going to learn. I worked up the gusto to start this YouTube channel by all of the other professional YouTubers that say you just need to sit down in front of a camera and do it. And a lot of their videos from a couple of years ago that they still have on their channel, you can see their starting off point. And that's, that's comforting for people who feel like, maybe their skills aren't as good as the people who are, popular right now. But that doesn't matter, you have to put in the time and effort and learn how to do the craft before you can get any better. So I think I'm going to leave it up. I might take it down. I might redo it, or I might just, have a video where I talk about the projects that I've done in the past, and I'll include those pictures again of the mudkip and the hat and the blanket that I did for the other drag queen. So I don't know. We'll see. I have a lot of stuff going on in my head. We'll see what I decide to do. But this video is probably going to be really short. Sorry about that. It was just, I literally just finished sewing the spots on Bulbasaur. Like, maybe, it was literally right before I started recording this video. So however long this recording is, 15 minutes? Like 15 minutes ago is when I finished doing that. So, also, I want to say, I actually got a like on my last video. I got, I think I watched it 7 times, so I had 7 views on that video, but then I came back and there was 11 views and 1 like. So whoever it was that liked that video, thank you so much. Whoever you are that liked that video, thank you. Genuinely. I'm so happy that you watched that and actually gave me your like. The time of day that you gave me is wonderful. So, I guess that's all for this one. I might do, I might take like a really nice picture of these and I'll include it at the end. Or if you guys want something a little more in-depth, maybe I'll put something together if you ask for it. But just thanks again for giving me the time of day to watch me ramble about my ridiculous hobbies and the things that I do to myself for drag queens. So, thanks guys. Bye-bye. So, oh, it's hot.